The shuttle docked at Station Velar 9 with a soft hum and stepped onto alien ground for the first time in his life. The air smelled clean, almost too clean, like someone had removed every interesting thing from it. Around him, beings of all shapes and sizes moved through the arrival hall. Some had too many arms, others had no arms at all. A few seemed to be made of light itself. Was 24 years old, born in, and until 3 months ago he had never left Earth. Now he stood in the Galactic Academy of Strategic Intelligence, one of the most respected schools in known space. He was the first human accepted in 15 cycles. He was also, according to the whispers he could already hear, a mistake. A woman pushed through the crowd toward him. She was human, which was a relief, with sharp eyes and black hair pulled back tight. She wore the gray uniform of an academy student, and her name tag read. "You're late," she said. "The shuttle was late," replied. "Same thing, come on. The opening ceremony starts in 10 minutes, and if you miss it, you'll prove everyone right about humans." Followed her through wide halls made of some material that looked like glass but felt warm to the touch. Everywhere he looked, he saw aliens watching him. Their expressions were hard to read, but their body language was clear enough. Curiosity, doubt. Some of them looked at him the way a person might look at a dog that had wandered into a library. "Let me explain some things," said as they walked. "There are 12 species in the Galactic Council. Humans are the youngest. We joined the Council only 40 years ago. Most species here have been part of galactic civilization for thousands of years. Some of them remember when our ancestors were still figuring out fire." "So they think we're children," said. "They think we're infants. And they think the Academy made a mistake accepting you. My job is to make sure you don't prove them right." "What's your job exactly?" "Cultural liaison. I help you understand alien customs so you don't accidentally start a war by sneezing wrong." She stopped at a large door. "This is the main hall. Stay quiet, look respectful, and try not to do anything human." "What does that mean?" "It means don't act on impulse. Don't speak out of turn. Don't show too much emotion, and definitely don't touch anything without permission." The main hall was enormous. Seats rose in circles around a central stage, and each section was filled with a different species. Counted 11 sections with dozens of students each. The 12th section in the far corner had exactly 2 seats. One was empty, the other held. Took his place beside her. On the stage, an alien unlike any he had seen before began to speak. This being was tall, with 7 limbs that moved in ways that made its eyes hurt. Its skin was made of something like crystal, shifting colors with each word. This was Instructor, according to the whispers around him, the most demanding professor at the academy. "Welcome to a new cycle," said. His voice was smooth and deep. "You are here because your people believe you are exceptional. I am here to test that belief. Some of you will pass. Many of you will fail. This is expected." His crystal eyes moved across the room and stopped on the human section. Felt the weight of that gaze like a physical thing. "We have a new species among us this cycle," continued. "Humans, a young race, emotional, impulsive, untested." He paused. "We shall see if they belong here." His hand touched his arm in warning. He kept his face still. "As is tradition," said, "we begin with a trial, a test of the mind." He lifted one of his 7 limbs, and in it was a box. It was small, about the size of 2 fists together, made of dark metal with patterns carved into its surface. The patterns seemed to move when looked at them, shifting like living things. "This is a puzzle box," explained. "It has been used for 10,000 years to test new students. The record for solving it is 47 minutes, held by a master." His gaze found again. "The average time is 3 hours. I will give you 4. The alien walked up the stairs toward the human section. Every eye in the room followed him. He stopped in front of his desk and placed the puzzle box down with a soft click. "You have been chosen to represent your species in this trial," said. "I will return in 4 hours to see your progress." Looked at the box. Up close, the patterns were even stranger. They seemed to pulse with a hidden logic, like a heartbeat made of geometry. Most people, he knew, would start by studying the patterns. They would try to understand the rules. They would make notes and calculations. Did not think like most people. He reached for the box. "What are you doing?" whispered. Did not answer. He picked up the box and felt its weight. It was heavier than it looked. He tilted it slightly and heard something shift inside, a tiny sound, like sand falling through glass. He closed his eyes. His grandmother had taught him to solve puzzles when he was 6 years old. She never explained how. She just handed him broken things and told him to fix them. When he asked for help, she would say the same thing every time. "The answer is already there. Stop thinking and see." He had not understood her then. He understood her now. The puzzle box was not about patterns. It was about mechanics. Somewhere inside, there were pieces that wanted to move, pieces that were waiting to fall into place. The patterns on the surface were a distraction. The real puzzle was in the weight, in the sound, in the way the box felt in his hands. His fingers began to move. He was not thinking anymore. He was feeling. His thumbs pressed against 2 points on the surface and something clicked. He rotated the box 45 degrees and pressed again. Another click. The patterns on the surface began to shift, rearranging themselves into new shapes. Had not even reached the door. In the seats above, the alien students watched with expressions that ranged from boredom to amusement. A student named A quietly calculated the minimum solution time in his head. 47 minutes for a master. 3 hours for an average student. The human had maybe a 2% chance of solving it at all. A student named leaned toward his companion. 10 credits says he gives up before reaches the exit. His companion did not take the bet. His fingers kept moving. Press, rotate, press. The box was singing to him now, telling him its secrets in a language made of clicks and shifts. He could feel the final pieces falling into place, like tumblers in a lock. 53 seconds had passed since he picked up the box. The final piece clicked. The box opened. Inside was a small crystal, glowing with soft blue light. Held it up, not sure what to do next. The hall had gone completely silent. He looked around and saw hundreds of alien faces staring at him. None of them were moving. None of them were breathing. Had stopped at the door. His crystal body was frozen mid-step. Slowly, very slowly, he turned around. His face, if it could be called a face, showed an expression that could not read. His translator caught a whisper from the instructor's lips. One word in the language. "Impossible." Looked at the open box in his hands, then at the hundreds of shocked faces around him. He had not even sat down properly. His body was still half raised from the chair, caught in the motion of reaching for the puzzle. He smiled. "Is there another one?" he asked. The silence lasted for exactly 7 heartbeats. Counted them because she needed something to focus on, something to keep her from screaming. In her 3 years at the academy, she had never seen anything like this. She had never even imagined it. The puzzle box sat open in his hands. The blue crystal inside pulsed with gentle light, as if it too was surprised by what had just happened. Around the hall, 500 alien students sat frozen in their seats. Not one of them moved. Not one of them spoke. The student with the mathematical mind was the first to react. His mandibles clicked together rapidly, which was the version of confused muttering. He pulled out a small device and began running calculations. His compound eyes darted between the numbers and the human holding the opened box. 53 seconds, he said, his translator turning his clicks into words. He solved it in 53 seconds. "That's not possible," said the student who had made the bet. His silver skin had gone pale. "The theoretical minimum is 47 minutes. That's the fastest any mind can process the pattern sequences." "He did not process the sequences," A replied. "Look at his approach. He ignored the patterns entirely. He solved it through mechanical intuition." "Through what?" "I do not know. I am still calculating." On the stage below, Instructor had not moved. His 7 limbs hung at his sides, and his crystal body flickered with colors that had no names in any human language. He was old, older than any living human, and in all his centuries of teaching, he had never seen a puzzle box opened in less than half an hour. 53 seconds. The human had done it in 53 seconds. Began to walk back toward the human section. His steps were slow and careful, like a hunter approaching something that might be dangerous. Every eye in the hall followed him. Watched him come. The young man did not seem to understand what he had done. His face showed only mild curiosity, the expression of someone waiting to see what would happen next. This, more than anything else, disturbed deeply. "Do you understand what you have just accomplished?" asked when he reached his desk. Shrugged. I opened the box. "You opened a master puzzle in under a minute. The previous record was held by a who had spent 40 years training his mind. He took 47 minutes. His voice was calm, but something underneath it trembled. "How did you do it?" "I just felt it," said. "Felt it?" The box wanted to open. I could feel where the pieces needed to go, so I put them there. Wanted to grab and shake him. This was not how you spoke to an elder. This was not how you explained breaking a 10,000-year-old record. But before she could intervene, did something unexpected. He laughed. It was not a warm laugh. It was the laugh of someone who had just seen something that changed everything they believed. His crystal body rang like bells, and colors rippled across his surface in patterns that hurt to look at. "Felt it," repeated. "In all my years, I have never heard a student say they felt a puzzle." He turned to address the entire hall. "Class is dismissed for today. I need to speak with the council about this development." The alien students began to rise, but their eyes never left. Whispers spread through the crowd like fire. Caught fragments of conversation as beings passed by their section. "Cheating must be cheating. The humans stole our technology. Impossible, simply impossible. Did you see his hands? They moved wrong." Stopped at the edge of the human section. His silver face was twisted with something that looked like anger. "This is not over," he said. "I will find out how you did this." Looked up at him. "I already told you how." "Lies. Humans are known for deception. Your species has barely learned to leave your own planet. You cannot simply solve a master puzzle through feeling." Turned and walked away, his companions following close behind. When the hall was finally empty, let out a breath she had been holding for too long. "Do you have any idea what you just did?" "I solved a puzzle," said. "You broke a record that has stood for 300 years. You made every species in this academy look at humanity differently, and you did it on your first day." She ran her hands through her hair. "The council is going to hear about this. The news networks are going to hear about this. By tomorrow, every planet in known space will know that a human solved the puzzle box in less than a minute." "Considered this. Is that bad?" "I don't know. It could be very good, or it could be very bad. Some species will be impressed. Others will be threatened. The consider puzzle solving a sacred art. You just proved that a human can do what their masters cannot." "I didn't mean to insult anyone." "It doesn't matter what you meant. It matters what happened." Sat down heavily in her chair. "How did you really do it? The truth." Was quiet for a moment. He looked at the puzzle box in his hands, now closed again, its patterns still and silent. "My grandmother raised me," he said finally. "My parents worked all the time, so she took care of me. She loved puzzles. Mechanical ones, wooden ones, metal ones. She had hundreds of them in her apartment." "And she taught you to solve them?" "No, she just gave them to me and told me to figure them out. When I got stuck, she never helped. She just said the same thing every time." Smiled at the memory. "The answer is already there. Stop thinking and see." "Stop thinking and see," repeated. "What does that mean?" "It means the puzzle knows how to open itself. Every puzzle has a solution built into it. The pieces want to fit together. The lock wants to turn. You just have to feel where everything wants to go and help it get there." Stared at him. In her years of training, she had learned to understand how different species thought. They used pure mathematics. They used pattern recognition. They used logical sequences. But this was something new. This was not logic or calculation. This was instinct. "You solved an ancient alien puzzle through instinct," she said slowly. "I guess so." "That's not supposed to be possible. Puzzles require analysis. They require understanding the rules and applying them correctly. You can't just feel your way to the answer. Why not? Opened her mouth to answer, but she realized she did not have one. Why not indeed? Humans had always trusted their instincts. They called it gut feeling or intuition or luck. Other species considered it a weakness, a sign of undeveloped minds. But what if it was something else entirely? What if humans could solve problems that logic could not touch? The door to the hall opened, and Instructor entered again. Behind him walked another, this one even older, with crystals that had grown cloudy with age. This was Director Eth, the head of the academy, had seen him only once before at her own acceptance ceremony. The director said, his voice was like stones grinding together. I have watched the recording of your trial. I have consulted with our puzzle masters. I have one question for you. Stood, yes, Director. Can you do it again? The question hung in the air, looked at the puzzle box, then at the two ancient before him. He understood what they were really asking. They wanted to know if this was luck or skill. They wanted to know if humans could truly do what other species could not. Yes, he said, I can do it again. Director Eth nodded slowly. Then we will test you. Tomorrow, in the Hall of Inquiry, before witnesses from all 12 species, you will solve puzzles you have never seen, and we will learn the truth about what humans can do. He turned and walked away, following behind him, and stood alone in the empty hall. Well, said quietly, tomorrow is going to be interesting. Picked up the puzzle box and turned it over in his hands. The patterns on its surface shifted and danced, but they did not frighten him. They never had. I hope they have harder ones, he said. The Hall of Inquiry was older than human civilization. Its walls were carved from a single piece of dark stone, brought from the 10,000 years ago. Symbols covered every surface, telling stories in languages that had been dead for centuries. This was where the Academy settled disputes, where truth was separated from lies. Today, it was where would prove himself or be destroyed. The seats were filled with representatives from all 12 species. In the front row sat Director Eth and Instructor. Beside them was a human woman had not met before. She wore formal clothes and carried herself like someone used to power. Her name tag read, and her title was listed as Human Ambassadors. Sat in the human section, her hands clasped tight in her lap. She had not slept the night before. Neither had, but he did not seem tired. He stood in the center of the hall, alone, waiting for the trial to begin. Rose from the section. His silver skin gleamed under the hall's strange lighting. I bring formal accusation, he announced. I charge the human with cheating during yesterday's trial. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Director Eth raised one limb for silence. State your evidence. The evidence is logic itself, said. Humans have been part of galactic society for only 40 years. They have no history of puzzle mastery. They have no mental training programs. They have no cultural tradition of geometric analysis. He pointed at. Yet this human claims to have solved a master puzzle in 53 seconds through feeling. I submit that this is impossible. He must have obtained the solution through theft or technology. What technology do you propose he used? Eth asked. I do not know, but humans are known for their deceptive nature. They have stolen from other species before. It is documented. Stood, I object to this characterization of humanity. We are here to discuss one student's accomplishment, not the character of an entire species. The character of the species is relevant, replied. If humans are capable of cheating, then this human may have cheated. That is circular reasoning. It is logical caution. Eth raised his limb again. Enough, we are here to establish facts, not to argue philosophy. He turned to, you have heard the accusation. What is your response? Thought for a moment. I did not cheat, he said simply. I solved the puzzle the way I solve all puzzles, by feeling how it wanted to open. Impossible, said. I did it. You watched me do it. How can it be impossible if it happened? The question hung in the air. Several aliens shifted uncomfortably in their seats. This was the problem with the accusation. Everyone had seen solve the puzzle. The recording had been analyzed from every angle. There was no evidence of technology, no hidden tools, no external assistance. The student rose from his section. "If I may speak," he said. Eth nodded. "You may." "I have analyzed the recording of yesterday's trial using mathematical modeling. The human's hand movements showed no pre-programmed patterns. Each motion was a response to the previous one, adapting in real time to feedback from the puzzle. This is consistent with genuine problem-solving, not memorized solutions." "But the speed," protested. 53 seconds, the brain cannot process that fast." "Perhaps not a brain," replied calmly. "But I am beginning to think humans may process information differently than we assumed." The hall erupted in noise. Species shouted at each other in their native languages. Some defended, others sided with. Eth waited for the noise to die down, his ancient body perfectly still. "There is one way to settle this dispute," he said when silence returned. "A new test, a puzzle the human has never seen, created moments ago, with no possibility of prior knowledge." He gestured to who came forward carrying a mechanical sphere. It was made of interlocking rings, each one covered in symbols that shifted and changed. This was a creation sphere, far more complex than the puzzle box. "This puzzle was designed by our masters this morning," explained. "No one outside this hall knows its solution, not even I know how to open it." He placed the sphere on a table in front of. "If you can solve this, the accusation of cheating will be dismissed." "And if he fails?" asked. "Then we will have more questions to ask." Looked at the sphere. It was beautiful in a strange way, all those rings moving in patterns that seemed random but probably were not. He could already feel something from it, a whisper of how it wanted to move. "May I touch it before the timer starts?" he asked. Hesitated, then nodded. "You may." Picked up the sphere. It was warm, like something alive. He held it close to his ear and rotated it slowly, listening to the tiny sounds of its internal mechanisms. His eyes closed. 10 seconds passed. He set the sphere down and looked at Eth. "I am ready." "Begin." His hands moved. The first ring rotated left, clicking into a new position. The second ring moved right. The third spun completely around and locked in place. His movements were smooth and certain, as if he had solved this puzzle 100 times before. Watched with her heart in her throat. She knew what was at stake. If failed, would use it as evidence of human cheating. The Academy might expel. Worse, they might expel all future human students. Humanity's place in galactic education hung on this moment. 1 minute passed. The outer rings were all aligned now, revealing a smaller core beneath. Leaned forward in his seat. His confidence was fatting. The human was moving too smoothly, too surely. This was not the desperate fumbling of a cheater caught without his tools. This was skill. 90 seconds. The core began to shift, its symbols rearranging into new patterns. Ran calculations on his device. At this rate, the human would finish in approximately 2 minutes and 20 seconds. That was still impossibly fast for a puzzle of this complexity, but it was slower than the first trial. Perhaps the sphere was genuinely more difficult. 2 minutes. The final ring began to move. His fingers pressed 3 symbols simultaneously, and the sphere split open like a flower blooming. Inside was a small chip of crystal, different from the one in the puzzle box, but carrying the same soft glow. 2 minutes and 17 seconds. The hall was silent. Eth rose from his seat. His ancient body creaked with the motion, but his voice was strong. "The accusation of cheating is dismissed. The human solved a puzzle he could not possibly have prepared for. He did so in front of witnesses from all 12 species." He looked at. "Do you have further objections?" Silver skin had gone gray. He sank back into his seat and said nothing. "Then this matter is concluded." Eth paused, and when he spoke again, his voice carried something new, something like respect. "However, a new matter has arisen. In light of today's demonstration, I am transferring to the Advanced Strategic Division, effective immediately." Gasps filled the hall. The Advanced Strategic Division was for experts, for veterans, for the best of the best. No first-year student had ever been admitted. "Director," said carefully, "is that wise? The human has only been here for 1 day. And in 1 day, he has shown more unusual ability than most students show in a lifetime." Ed's cloudy eyes fixed on. "We need to understand what humans can actually do. The Advanced Division will test him properly." Allowed herself a small smile. Humanity's reputation had just changed forever. Stared at her friend, standing alone in the center of the hall, holding an alien puzzle that no one should have been able to solve. She had known for less than 2 days, but she was beginning to understand something important. Humans were not like other species. They did not think like other species. And maybe, just maybe, that was exactly what the galaxy needed. Set down the solved sphere and looked up at the watching aliens. "So," he said, "when do I start?" The Advanced Strategic Division occupied the deepest level of Station Velar 9. The halls here were darker, narrower, and much colder. Security checkpoints appeared every 100 meters, each one manned by guards who scanned with devices he could not identify. Commander waited for him in the main training room. She was a species that had evolved in the oceans of a water world. Her body was long and sinuous, contained in a mobility suit filled with liquid. Her voice came through a translator mounted on her suit's chest. "You are the human," she said. It was not a question. "Yes, Commander." "I have read your file. 2 puzzles solved in impossible time. The Academy thinks you are special." Her dark eyes studied him. "I think you are untested. Special means nothing until it is proven under pressure." Nodded. "Then test me." "I intend to." She gestured with one fluid limb. "You will work with a team. They are waiting." The team consisted of 2 people already knew and one he did not. O was there, his compound eyes watching with scientific curiosity. Beside him stood, looking surprised and a little worried. The 3rd member was a human woman had not met before. "Park," she introduced herself. "Resource Logistics Specialist. They pulled me from the economics program this morning." "Why?" asked. "Because you're here. They want to see how humans work together under pressure." She smiled, but there was tension behind it. "No pressure or anything." Commander moved to the center of the room, where a large holographic display flickered to life. Stars appeared, then planets, then a single world highlighted in red. "This is your simulation," said. "The colony world 7, population 40 million beings from 6 different species. In 3 hours, an asteroid will impact the planet's surface. The impact will kill everyone." The team studied the display. The asteroid was massive, tumbling through space on a path that could not be changed. At least, not by any conventional means. "Your mission is to save as many lives as possible," continued. "You have access to 12 evacuation ships, each capable of carrying 500,000 passengers. Standard procedure suggests evacuating priority targets first: scientific personnel, cultural leaders, and genetic diversity samples." Did the math quickly. That's only 6 million people, 15% of the population. 14.4%, to be precise, I added. The accepted loss rate for extinction-level events is 70%. Saving 15% is considered a successful outcome. "Acceptable losses," muttered. "I hate that phrase." Stared at the display. 40 million lives, 34 million deaths, acceptable losses. The words felt wrong in his mind, like a puzzle piece that did not fit. "What about the asteroid itself?" he asked. "Can we destroy it?" "Negative," replied. "The asteroid's composition makes it resistant to conventional weapons. Attempts to break it apart would create multiple impacts, increasing the death toll." "Can we move it, change its path?" "The mass is too great. We do not have sufficient force to alter its trajectory in the time remaining." Walked closer to the display. He studied the asteroid's path, the planet's rotation, the positions of the evacuation ships. Something was bothering him, a whisper in the back of his mind, like the feeling he got when he held a puzzle that wanted to be solved. What if we're thinking about this wrong? He said. A tilted his head. Explain. We're trying to save people from the asteroid. But what if we use the asteroid to save people? The room went quiet. Even Commander's liquid form stilled. That does not compute, I said. The asteroid is the threat. It cannot also be the solution. Why not? Pulled up the trajectory data and began manipulating it. Look at the path. The asteroid passes close to Seven's moon before impact. If we position the evacuation ships here, he marked a point in space, we can use the asteroid's gravity well to slingshot them away from the planet faster than their engines alone would allow. Leaned forward. That's insane. The timing would have to be perfect. It would have to be exact, agreed. But if we get it right, we can evacuate not 6 million, but 37 million. And the other 3 million? Asked quietly. Underground shelters. The simulation shows cavern systems beneath the northern continent. If we can get 3 million people into deep shelters before impact, they might survive the initial blast. We can evacuate them after the debris clears. I was running calculations furiously. The slingshot maneuver is theoretically possible. The margin of error is extremely small. 1.3 seconds of deviation would result in complete failure. Complete failure meaning? All ships destroyed by asteroid debris. 40 million deaths instead of 34 million. The team fell silent. Plan was bold, maybe brilliant, but the risk was enormous. If they failed, they would make everything worse. This is not the expected solution, Commander observed. Standard doctrine would never approve such a risk. Standard doctrine would let 34 million people die, replied. I'm not okay with that. Why? Asked. They are simulation beings, numbers in a computer. Their deaths mean nothing. Turned to face her. My father was a rescue worker. He died when I was 12, trying to save strangers from a burning building. He could have left them. He could have saved himself. But he went back in because he believed that acceptable losses was a phrase cowards used. The room was very still. Every life matters, continued. Real or simulated, I don't know how to think any other way. Stepped forward. I'm with him. If there's a chance to save more people, we have to take it. A's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. The mathematics support the attempt. An 88% chance of saving 92% is better than a 100% chance of saving 15%. Nodded. Then let's do it. Commander watched them for a long moment. Her liquid form shifted in its suit, patterns moving beneath the surface. Then she spoke. Begin. The next 2 hours were the most intense of his life. He coordinated with his team, adjusting trajectories, calculating timing, managing the impossible logistics of moving 37 million beings to exactly the right place at exactly the right time. I handled the mathematics, managed the resources, translated between species, making sure everyone understood their orders. The slingshot window approached. 12 ships positioned themselves at the edge of the asteroid's gravity well. Inside the simulation, billions of calculations ran every second, modeling every possible outcome. 10 seconds, O announced. 9, 8. Watch the display, his heart pounding. 3, 2, 1, execute. The ships fired their engines. The asteroid's gravity caught them, whipping them around in a perfect arc. For one terrible moment, debris clouds threatened to tear them apart. Then they were through, screaming away from the doomed planet at speeds their engines could never have achieved alone. Behind them, the asteroid struck 7. The simulation ended. Commander floated forward to examine the results. 37,200,000 beings evacuated successfully. 2.8 million survivors in underground shelters. Total saved, 40 million. The team stared at the numbers. That's everyone, whispered. We saved everyone. Not quite, corrected. 12,700 casualties due to evacuation accidents. But yes, you saved 99.9% of the population. She turned to face. This was not a standard simulation. I designed it to be unsolvable. The expected outcome was failure. Then why give it to us? Asked. Because the Galactic Council wanted to know if anyone would challenge the parameters, if anyone would refuse to accept acceptable losses. Stark eyes fixed on. You were the only team to try. Did not know what to say. He had just done what felt right. This evaluation has been forwarded to the Council, continued. They have a real crisis developing. An ancient weapon has activated near space. Previous attempts to deactivate it have failed. 17 ships have been destroyed. She moved closer, her liquid form pressing against the front of her suit. They need someone who sees problems no one else can see. They need someone who refuses to accept the impossible. Her voice dropped lower. They need you. Are you ready? Looked at his team. The mathematician who had defended him when no one else would. The logistics expert who trusted his crazy plans. The translator who had been with him from the beginning. He turned back to Commander. When do we leave? The weapon hung in space like a sleeping god. It was ancient beyond measure, older than the civilization, older than recorded history. Its surface was covered in symbols that no species could translate, and its weapons had destroyed 17 ships that tried to approach. Stood on the bridge of the Council cruiser Vigilant, watching the weapon through the main display. Beside him stood, behind them the ship's crew worked in tense silence. The weapon activates whenever anything approaches within 50,000 kilometers, explained Admiral, the officer in command. His silver skin reflected the display's light. We have tried communication. We have tried stealth. We have tried overwhelming force. Nothing works. What about retreat? Asked. Can we just leave it alone? Negative. The weapon's power output is increasing. Our scientists estimate it will reach critical mass in 47 hours. When that happens, it will fire a beam capable of destroying every inhabited world within 3 systems. His voice was flat, but could see fear in his eyes. 12 billion beings will die. Studied the display. The weapon was shaped like a flower that had not yet bloomed, its petals closed tight around a central core. Energy readings pulsed from within, growing stronger with each passing minute. Show me the attack patterns, he said. Nodded to his crew. The display changed, showing the paths of the 17 destroyed ships. Each one had approached the weapon from a different angle. Each one had been destroyed by a single precise shot. The targeting is perfect, I observed. No delay, no hesitation. The weapon knows exactly where each ship will be before it arrives. Predictive systems, agreed. The technology is beyond our understanding. Watch the patterns repeat. Approach, shot, destruction, approach, shot, destruction. 17 times, always the same, always perfect. But something about it bothered him. Play it again, he said, slower this time. The crew obeyed. The patterns played out in slow motion, each ship's destruction taking minutes instead of seconds. Watched every detail, every angle, every movement. There, he said suddenly, stop. The display froze. A Council cruiser hung in space, moments before its destruction. The weapon's targeting beam was already locked onto it. What do you see? Asked. The beam. Look at where it's pointing. I studied the display. It is pointing at the ship. That is expected. No, look closer. The beam isn't pointing at the ship's center. It's pointing at the engine section, specifically at the primary drive core. Frowned. So, the engine is the fastest way to destroy a ship. But it's not the only way. If the weapon wanted to kill the crew, it would target life support. If it wanted to stop the ship, it would target the bridge. His eyes were bright with understanding. It's targeting the engines because it doesn't want the ships to get closer. It's not trying to kill. It's trying to stop. The bridge went silent. That is a significant distinction, I said slowly. If the weapon is not hostile, then what is it? Stared at the frozen image. The weapon, the ship, the precise targeting, and suddenly he understood. It's a puzzle, he said. What? The weapon is a test, like the puzzle box, like the sphere. The creators left it here to see if anyone could solve it. He turned to face the others. The attacks aren't attacks. They're responses to wrong answers. Approach correctly and it won't fire. silver face showed disbelief. That is an enormous assumption based on very little evidence. It's not an assumption, it's pattern recognition. Pulled up the display again. Look at the destroyed ships. Everyone approached on a direct path. Straight line, maximum speed. That's the logical approach. That's what any tactical computer would recommend. Yes, and everyone was destroyed. But logic isn't the answer here. The creators didn't want a species that could calculate. They wanted a species that could think differently. His voice grew stronger. They wanted a species that could feel the puzzle. Stepped forward. You're saying you want to fly a ship at that thing and hope you can dodge its weapons through intuition. Yes. That's insane. Probably, smiled, but it's also the only option no one has tried. Admiral looked at for a long moment. The human was young, inexperienced, and proposing something that went against every principle of military strategy. But he was also the only person in the room who had offered anything other than despair. I cannot authorize a council vessel for this mission, said finally, but I can authorize a shuttle. If you are willing to risk your life on this theory, I will not stop you. I'll go, said immediately. I'm coming with you, added. If the weapon tries to communicate, you'll need a translator. Wanted to argue, but he could see in her eyes that she would not be moved. He nodded. Just the two of us. The smaller the ship, the more maneuverability we'll have. 20 minutes later, they were in the shuttle, approaching the 50,000-kilometer boundary. The weapon loomed before them, ancient and patient and terrible. Beginning approach, announced over the comm. Wish us luck. Good luck, I replied, though I calculate luck has very little to do with this. The shuttle crossed the boundary. Immediately, the weapon's surface began to glow. Targeting systems activated, painting the shuttle with energy beams. Felt the puzzle unfolding before him, just like the box, just like the sphere. He did not fly straight. The shuttle dipped left, and a shot blazed past where they had been. It curved right, and another shot missed by meters. His hands moved on the controls without conscious thought, responding to patterns he could feel but not explain. The weapon is accelerating its fire rate, reported, her voice tight. 17 shots per second now. It's testing us, pushing harder. His eyes were half closed. But the pattern is there, I can feel it. The shuttle danced through a storm of energy beams. Each movement was a response, an answer to a question asked in light and fire. Was not thinking anymore. He was feeling, letting the puzzle guide him, trusting his instincts completely. 1,000 kilometers to the weapon. 500. 100. The firing stopped. Opened his eyes. The weapon filled the display, its surface now pulsing with soft light instead of deadly energy. As they watched, the petals began to open, unfolding like a flower greeting the sun. It's opening, breathed. We did it, we solved it. Inside the weapon's core, a message began to play. It was in a language older than any in the galactic database, but training kicked in, her mind working to decode the meaning behind the sounds. You have proven worthy, she translated slowly. The inheritance is yours. The weapon's core ejected something, a data crystal the size of his fist, glowing with blue light that felt familiar, like the light in the puzzle box, like the light in the sphere. What is the inheritance? Asked. Listened to more of the message, her face going pale. Technology, knowledge, secrets from the species that created the weapon, things that could advance the council by centuries. She looked at him. They were waiting for someone who could solve their puzzle, someone who didn't think like everyone else. Reached out and took the crystal. It was warm in his hand, humming with ancient power. Behind them, the weapon powered down. Its surface went dark, and for the first time it was silent. 2 days later, they returned to Station Velar 9 as heroes. The council held a ceremony in the main hall, the same hall where had solved the puzzle box. Representatives from all 12 species came to offer thanks and admiration. Was there too. He approached after the ceremony, his silver face unreadable. I was wrong about you, he said. I thought humans were cheaters, I thought you were a fraud. He extended his hand in the human gesture of peace. "I apologize." Shook his hand. Apology accepted. Later, in a quiet corner of the station, Instructor found alone. "I have studied the data from the weapon," the old said. "It was created by the same species that made the puzzle box. They called themselves the architects." Why did they leave tests everywhere? They knew they were dying. They wanted to find a successor species, one that could carry on their work. His crystal body flickered with strange colors. But the tests are not over. The weapon was only the first. There are others scattered across the galaxy, and they are waking up. Absorbed this information. More puzzles, more tests, more impossible challenges waiting to be solved. "Then I better start practicing," he said. Laughed, his body ringing like bells. "I believe you are already practiced enough." He handed a small package. A gift from the archives. Inside was a new puzzle box. This one was different from the first, covered in symbols that seemed to shift and dance. Energy hummed beneath its surface. "This is an architect original," explained. "No one has ever opened it, not in 10,000 years of trying." Held the box. He could feel its puzzle calling to him, whispering secrets in a language made of weight and movement and possibility. "Humans don't solve puzzles because we're smarter," he said, more to himself than to. "We solve them because we refuse to believe they're unsolvable." He smiled and reached for the first edge. The box began a click.